Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1.
You will hear a phone conversation of a man ordering items from a library. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to
6. Good morning, City Central Library. May I help you?
Yes, I want to order some books and copies of articles, please. You can send them to me through the post or courier, can't you?
Yes, certainly. I'll just get the form and take down some details. First, your name, please, sir.
Lester Mackey. That's Mackie.
Mackie, Lester. And your membership number?
That's M9301274124.
M930...
1274.
Thank you. Now your address, please. That's the address you want us to send the items to.
It's 17 Westmead Road, Annandale.
And could I have your phone number and your fax number, please?
Yes, the fax number is 863-5923.
863-5923.
That's correct. The daytime phone number is 02579 6363, and after 5 p.m. it's 579 1857.
Now, may I ask why you'll be needing the books? I'm sorry about this, but we have to have this information whenever we send books out from a telephone request.
No problem. I'm preparing a short article for the Environment Watch section of the local newspaper. We're quite concerned about the problems we're facing here now, especially since we've been getting so many tourists in the district.
Oh, I know. I'm so glad someone's doing something about publicising the problem.
Now, how long can I keep the books for?
Well, as you know, our normal loan period is 3 weeks with a 2-week extension over the phone. However, in cases where we send books out by post, we allow a longer initial loan period to allow for the delivery time. So you may have the books for 6 weeks from the date of postage. But I'm afraid the 2-week extension won't apply then. However, you would be able to renew them by bringing them in for stamping, provided no one else has a reserve on them.
I should think the normal period would be enough. Now, how do you prefer the postage and photocopy fees to be paid?
We accept both cash and credit card, but it will be such a small sum it might be more convenient to send us a money order.
Would it be all right if I left it until I come in next time and just pay cash then?
Of course, there's no problem with that at all.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 7 to 10. Shall I tell you the articles I want copied first?
Good, I've got all that down. Now perhaps we could go on to the books. You tell me the books you need, and I'll tell you whether we have them immediately available, or whether you'll have to wait a bit for them. All right. The details I'll need are the author, publication date, and the title of the book. Is that okay?
Yes, no problem at all. The first one is by Halsworth, published in 1978. It's called Land and Water Resources of Australia.
Yes. we have that available on the shelves.
Good. Now, the next two are both government publications. The first one is rather old, published in 1984. That's Land Degradation in Australia. But the second one is more recent. That's Coastal Zone Inquiry Report from 1993.
I'm afraid we don't have the first one. We'll have to get that from the government archives for you. But the second one, the later one, has just come in, so I'll put that aside for you.
Wonderful. Now, there are three more. Two rather old books, but they're standard works, so you probably have them. Environmental Law by Fisher and Environmental Chemistry by Raiswell. They were both published in 1980.
Yes, we do have both those texts. Environmental Law should be on the shelf, but Environmental Chemistry is out on loan at the moment. I'll put that on reserve for you.
Right. And the last one is The Environment Impact of Travel and Tourism by M. Burns and Associates, 1989.
Burns, Environment... No, I'm sorry, we don't have that. I'll have to use the interlibrary loan service and get it in for you.
Oh, how long is that likely to take?
Well, it really depends where we can get it. If it's available locally, it shouldn't take more than a few days. But if we have to send overseas for it, it could be rather a while. We'll do our best to hurry it up.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear a lecture about the changes of the labour market. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Hello. This afternoon I'm going to begin by outlining some of the main changes that have occurred in the labor market and in working practices over the last 20 years. One of the most significant changes has been the vast move, especially in industrialized countries, from manufacturing to service industries. Although this has freed many people from heavy and repetitive work in factories, many people find their work in service industries equally boring and just as badly paid. Another important change has been that people no longer expect to spend most of their working lives with the same company or organization. As a result, people set themselves objectives which they work towards, and they use the various jobs they do and the different companies they work for as steps towards these objectives. For individual workers, I think this has helped them become more independent and given them more control over their lives. In most companies, the management team has become less hierarchical. This is often called downsizing or delayering. In other words, there are fewer managers and fewer levels of management. As a result, there are not so many opportunities for promotion, and people often feel frustrated because they find themselves at the same level for many years without the chance to rise in the company. Competition from new products and from different parts of the world means that nowadays companies have to adapt very fast to changing markets, and this requires them to be very flexible. Increasingly, this means they don't employ workers directly, but employ other small specialist companies or individuals to do the job when they need them. This means they don't have the expense of employing workers when they don't need them. I believe that for workers who are subcontracted, there are various gains. They're often better paid for the work they do. They work in smaller, more human organizations, and they're able to organize their working lives in ways which suit them, instead of having to fit the routines of a large company. Of course, the biggest areas of change have come with the technological revolution. Workers now have the chance to go job hunting on the World Wide Web, so they have more opportunities to find better or more suitable jobs. Statistics show that generally people work much harder than in the past, with much longer hours. New technologies are largely responsible for this, especially mobile phones and beepers or pagers. These things force employees to stay in contact with their offices even in their free time and at weekends. I think this is a pity, as people need to be able to relax and have time for themselves. Another effect of technological change is that jobs evolve very rapidly, and workers have to be continually going to training courses in order to remain employable. As a university teacher, I can hardly complain about this. But it can place enormous strain on workers if they're obliged to retrain for jobs well into their late 50s when they're getting close to retirement. So I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Before you hear the rest of the lecture, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 17 to 20.
New technology and global competition have, between them, meant that the life cycle of products isn't nearly as long as it used to be. This has been a profound effect on companies and on the way we work. In order to cope with sudden changes in the market, companies need much greater flexibility from their staff. As a result, large numbers of tenured or permanent jobs have disappeared. Apart from university lecturers like myself, few people can expect nowadays to have a job for life. And temporary, short-term employment has become the norm for many people. However, we have to be positive. One wonderful change which has come out of the technological revolution is the opportunity for the office worker to telecommute. That is, for them to work from home with their computer and modem. This enables them to organize their working lives around their families and cut out the long journeys to and from work, which are the bane of most office workers' lives.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear a conversation between the Professor, Sandra and Mike. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 30. Good morning. Now, this term we've looked at various aspects of recruitment, and you can now see how much more there is to it than just putting applicants through a short interview or reading CVs. Now, today's tutorial is just to recap some of the main points regarding recruitment. I'd like you to imagine that you are managers, and we will discuss how different applicants would fit into the team or group they have to work with. We'll look at some examples later. You can select someone, even a friend, who has all the right qualifications. Then you can also check that they have a lot of experience, that they've done the sort of tasks that you want them to do in your company.
But you need to know if they have the right character, don't you?
Precisely, Sandra. If they start work and you realize that they just don't get along with everybody else, you've got a problem? Exactly, Mike, exactly. They might have contrasting views on how to do something. They might not be able to get on with other members of your team.
Even adding one person to a team can change the whole group dynamic, can't it?
Absolutely. This could be particularly true with someone who is particularly outgoing or outspoken.
Could company training reduce the possibility of this happening?
Possibly, but company training tends to show new people how you do something at a particular company, rather than changing a person's character to suit your company. There's also the question of ability. Particularly in a team situation, people have to believe in each other's ability to do the tasks the boss has given. They have to trust that everyone will do their part of the job.
Right, but trying to find out what someone's personality is in a job interview is, well, is it possible? I mean, you won't find out what they're really like until they actually start work.
Well, is there any value in asking candidates questions about their hobbies, for example?
I doubt it. What could that tell you?
I don't know. It could tell you something about their personality, whether they're outgoing, for example. Most people involved in recruitment would argue that it does tell you something. More and more employers around the world are making use of personality questionnaires to help them select new staff. Yes, you mentioned those in the last lecture. Do they work? Well, most employers use them, but there is concern that they do not reveal the applicant's true personality.
Yeah, some people might just write the answers that they think the employer wants.
That's true. Very often, employers can weed out the applicants who do that by asking more detailed questions during the interview. The fact that they have been used for so long and that they are so widely used makes me think that there must be something in them. Well,
I'm not so sure. Just because they're used a lot, that doesn't automatically mean that they are useful or worthwhile.
true, but these tests have been created by experts, and they believe that the answers can provide indicators as to roughly the type of person that the applicant is.
How about the idea of setting problems for applicants and seeing how they approach them?
I like that idea, but the problems need to be simple, since there's not much time to prepare a full answer. In addition, the applicant doesn't have much background knowledge of the way that the company does things.
It's a good idea, but may not always be practical. Usually it is, though.
I'll need convincing. Let's move on to take a look at...
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear a monologue on the subject of recycling programs. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today we're going to look at recycling programs. The confusion over what we can and cannot recycle continues to confound consumers. Let's look at plastics first, as they are especially troublesome since different types of plastic require different processing to be reformulated and reused as raw material. Some municipalities accept all types of plastic for recycling, while others only accept jugs, containers and bottles, with certain numbers stamped on their bottoms. The symbol code we're familiar with, a single digit ranging from 1 to 7 and surrounded by a triangle of arrows, was designed by the Society of the Plastics Industry, or SPI, in 1988, to allow consumers and recyclers to differentiate types of plastics while providing a uniform coding system for manufacturers. The numbers, which many countries now require to be moulded or imprinted on all or at least most containers that can accept the half-inch minimum size symbol, identify the type of plastic. The symbols also help recyclers do their jobs more effectively. The easiest and most common plastics to recycle are made of polyethylene terephthalate, or PETE, and are assigned the number 1. Examples include soda and water bottles, medicine containers, and many other common consumer product containers. Once it has been processed by a recycling facility, PETE can become fiberfill for winter coats, sleeping bags, and life jackets. It can also be used to make bean bags, rope, car bumpers, tennis ball felt, combs, cassette tapes, sails for boats, furniture, and of course other plastic bottles. Number 2 is reserved for high-density polyethylene plastics. These include heavier containers that hold laundry detergents and bleaches as well as milk, shampoo, and motor oil. Plastic labelled with the number 2 is often recycled into toys, piping, plastic lumber, and rope. Like plastic designated number 1, it is widely accepted at recycling centres. Plastics that are less commonly recycled include polyvinyl chloride, commonly used in plastic pipes, shower curtains, medical tubing, vinyl dashboards, and even some baby bottle nipples. These get the number 3. Like number 4, which include wrapping films, grocery and sandwich bags, and other containers made of low-density polyethylene, and 5, which are polypropylene containers used in Tupperware, among other products, few municipal recycling centres will accept it due to its very low rate of recyclability. Another useful plastic to recycle is number 6, which is used in polystyrene or styrofoam items such as coffee cups, disposable cutlery, meat trays, packing peanuts, and insulation. It is widely accepted because it can be reprocessed into many items, including cassette tapes and rigid foam installation. Last, but far from the least, the hardest plastics to recycle are items crafted from various combinations of the aforementioned plastics, or from unique plastic formulations not commonly used, usually imprinted with a number 7 or nothing at all. These plastics are the most difficult to recycle and, as such, are seldom collected or recycled. More ambitious consumers should feel free to return such items to the product manufacturers to avoid contributing to the local waste stream, and instead put the burden on the makers to recycle or dispose of the items properly.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you can guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.